What's up guys, in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you how to do your own planning permission. This is the first major hurdle in your self-build journey, so I'm going to be sharing with you guys exactly how I've done it and how you can too. So over the past 6 months then, I've been working on and building my own house, and this is the first house I've ever owned. There are a number of reasons as well why I went down this route as opposed to getting a new build or an existing house. Firstly, the new build and existing houses in the areas where we were looking just didn't quite cut it for us. We wanted something that we could make our own. And obviously, I thought if we could buy something, run down that needed doing work, and we could make it our own, make it our bespoke house, and it cost the same as buying an existing house, then that was the way to go. Now, I'm also going to be making more videos on this subject and posting it on this channel. So if you're interested, make sure to subscribe, give this video a like, and if there's anything in particular you want to know about the self-build process, then let me know, because I'm in the middle of it right now. I've already gone through quite a lot, and I'd be happy to share anything that I've learned along the way. So yeah, definitely drop a comment down below if there's anything that you think I might be able to share and provide value to you guys with. Okay, now I'm assuming that if you're watching this video, you've already got a property or you've already got a plot that you're thinking about doing a development on. So let's just assume that you're already thinking about applying for planning permission. Now, at this stage, it is risky to get a professional on board because you don't know that your plans or whatever you submit is going to get approved. So the prospect of potentially wasting thousands of pounds, maybe up to £5,000 to get a professional architect on board to help you get over this first hurdle, it wasn't an option for me. We didn't have it in the budget. So I went it alone. It's cost me £231 to get my plans approved. They got approved first time, and I did all the drawings. I did absolutely everything myself. I do have a background in construction. I went to uni, I studied construction management, and I worked as a project manager in London for 6 years. However, if you follow the steps that I'm going to show you in this video, I promise you, you'll be able to submit your own plan permission all by yourself, no experience required. And also, whether you're considering getting a builder to actually come in and do the works, at this stage, it doesn't really matter. I've said that this is for self-builders, and it is, but it could also be for people who want to get a builder in to do the job for them, but just save some money at the beginning, because the sort of details that the builders are going to need, that can all come later. That doesn't have to come before you get planning permission, because at this stage, we're only seeking permission to be allowed to build. The kind of details required to actually start construction and procurement, that will all come later, and once you've got planning permission, in the bag, that's something that you can then potentially put a bit more thought into, or even get an architect on board, but just save on the costs of actually getting that initial planning. Okay, so let's start with the very basics then. You do need to have some idea, some vision of what you want to do with the property. You need to know, especially externally, how it's going to look. Is it going to be brick? Is it going to be rendered? How many windows are you going to have? All of these sort of external visual elements are really, really important. So you do need to give it some serious thought, because these are all of the things that are going to get approved on your planning permission. Potentially there will be some conditions on there. So, this is something that's going to be an official document. This is what you're going to build to. So just make sure that whatever you're submitting, you're happy with. And then whenever you get a builder on board or you progress, with the self-build job yourself, and you're going to have to stick to that. Internally, you can change and tweak things, obviously, but outside, you need to make sure that you're applying for what you want from the start. There are two options to consider at this stage. One is outline planning permission and one is full planning permission. And there's a difference, because outline planning permission, basically it's an inquiry to the planning officer to say, listen, I'm thinking about doing something similar to this. This is my house, this is my location, these are my surroundings. What do you think? What's the likelihood of it getting approved? And then they'll tell you it's likely to get approved or there's no chance, don't even bother. So that's outline planning permission. I didn't do that. You can skip that if you think that you're likely to get approved anyway. Otherwise, it might be a good idea to go ahead and do that first. But then secondly, you've got the full planning permission. And the full planning permission is when you apply for the actual permission, the paperwork that you'll be able to get and start building. And as I mentioned, I didn't bother with outline planning permission because I was pretty confident that my plans were going to get accepted. And the reasons for that were, it's a semi-D and my neighbor had already extended their property. And the external finish of their property was the same as what I wanted to do with mine. The house was very run down. It really did need work. The house was one of many in the area, and it was the smallest in the area as well, or at least one of the smallest. So, there was definitely scope there to improve it and make it bigger. And also, I wasn't proposing any changes that would make it stand out, with the surroundings. It was very much going to fit in with what was around it. English countryside, cottage-like stuff, so nothing too drastic. I was pretty confident and happy days because I did get it approved first time. Most of the information that you need to provide is going to be done online, and this is going to be done on your local council's planning website. Trust me, this is not something that's hard to do. If I can do it, anyone can do it. It's definitely not rocket science. And I'm going to share with you now an outline, not an outline, a full planning permission application. I'm going to walk you through it and talk you through all the stages basically. So let's get into it. This is an application with the South Staffordshire Council. So just an example, some may vary, the form, the layouts may change slightly. So you've got your basic information there, your name, your address, agent's name and address. Now, for me, I didn't put anything in there because I'm doing it myself. You've got there the description of the proposal. Now, this doesn't need to be a massive description. You don't need to go into too much detail here, so don't get scared. Look, the paragraph size there is only very small. It's basically just an outline of the works. So for my property, I can't remember exactly what I said, but it would have been something like rear extension, two-story rear extension, enlargement of front porch, and that's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much all I would have put in there. So moving on then you need to answer these following questions. Has the building, work or change of use already started? Yes or no? You want to be putting no for these really, because you want to be applying for a planning application as early as possible. They don't like it when you've already started works. So if at all possible, make sure that you don't start and get this in first. If yes, state when. Has the building work changed or been completed? Obviously you want to be saying no. If yes, when. Reference number for previous planning applications, if there's been any. For me, there hadn't been any, so I didn't need to put anything in there. Is the proposal for public service infrastructure development? Blah, blah, blah. Again, I didn't have anything to go there, so I just put no. So site details there. Pre-application advice. This will be if you've gone in for outline planning application or got any other advice prior to submitting this application. For me, it was a no because I hadn't done anything like that. So that was a no. Number 6 here, pedestrian and vehicle access. So they're going to want to know whether your property is surrounded by any, or if it's got a footpath through it or any pedestrian access, roads or right-of-ways for anyone else. I can't talk about what that might be like because I've never, well, my project doesn't have any of that, so hopefully yours doesn't either. You can put no for that. It'd be pretty rare unless your site's a massive 10-acre project or whatever, so let's say no to that. Waste storage and collection. Do the plans incorporate areas to store and aid the collection of waste? So on my site, the front garden is rather large. We had a section at the front there, which we cornered off. We were going to collect all our waste there and then get it collected in grabs or skips. So something as simple as that is what you can fill in there. Authority, employee / member. Okay, so that's just asking you whether you're related in any way through friends, family, to someone who works potentially in the planning industry or in the planning department for your council. I guess they're just looking for conflict of interest there. So for me, that was a no. Right, number 9, here we go. This is where you're going to need to state all of the materials on the existing property and the proposed. So walls, if there are currently brick walls, you have to put that as existing. And then proposed, if you want it to stay, if you want the extension to also be brickwork, you just put brickwork. If you want it to be something else, put whatever you want it to be. What I would say here, and a top tip, is that if you can keep as much as possible as for the proposed, the same as the existing, then you've got more chance of getting it approved because they like to see things remaining the same. They don't like to see a lot of change. So the walls, the roof, if they're tiles, keep them as tiles unless you want to go for slate, up to you. Windows, doors, so we're talking about, are they alley, are they timber? You've then got boundary treatments, fences. What fences are around your property? What fences do you propose to install around your property? Are you going to change them? And vehicle access and hard standing, lighting. That's external lighting, I assume, I think. And then others. If there's anything else noteworthy that you want to apply for or that you think might need to be brought up to their attention when submitting your application, put that in there. Then you've got, are you supplying any additional information? Drawings, design and access statement. Basically, provide as much as you can. We're going to talk about the drawings and the design and access statement later, but if I was you, I'd put a yes there because much higher chance that you're going to get your plans approved. So then you're going to need to give the references. Honestly, any reference, it doesn't have to be a fancy architectural reference. You can put any reference you want on your drawings. Just make sure that they make sense. They're clearly labeled, something that you can put in there so that when the planning officer is looking at your information, they can just clearly flick through and see the different drawings, and it's easy because if you're going to make their life easier, they'll make your life easier, more chance of getting your plans approved. Vehicle parking, this might be for more sort of commercial buildings, this section right here, don't worry too much about that. Okay, then you've got the foul sewerage, so hopefully when you bought the property, all the surveys that were done have brought all this information up. You may need to go back and look over the solicitor's documents to find some of this information. If you can't find it, just give your solicitor a call, and hopefully this is something that should be pretty easy to find and fill out. So have you got a septic tank, a cesspit, main sewer? Hopefully, fingers crossed, you're going to have a main sewer, because that's just going to make life much easier. And then, are you proposing to connect to an existing drainage system? Yes or no? If this is something that you're going to be doing yourself, you should know what you're going to do there. Otherwise, you might want to get a bit of advice from a builder. I'm not saying you should appoint someone, but just have a think about how you're going to connect the foul sewage. Assessment of flood risk. This definitely should have been brought up when you bought the property, and if you don't know the information here, ask your solicitor. They'll definitely be able to help you out with that. Obviously, a soakaway might be necessary. You can see there how would a surface water be disposed of. So if it's not through mains, you may need to get a soakaway. Biodiversity and geological conservation. You know, again, this should all come up in the when you're buying the house, but just check with your solicitor. Existing use. Please describe the current use of the site. So the house that I bought it used to be a property that an old man lived in who went to a care home. So the existing use was residential, and that's what I left it as. Is the site currently vacant? Mine was, so I put yes. If it's not, say no. Describe the last use of the site, so it was residential. Trees and hedges, depending on the planning officer who reviews your application, they might be quite picky about this. So my advice would be answer honestly, because you don't want to be lying about it, and then the planning officer say, right, let's go and have a look. They come out to your property and they find out that you've lied on your application. That's not going to be good. Again, trees and hedges can come up if any of the neighbours have got any issues or they raise a complaint. That's an easy one for them to say, well, that's not accurate, you know, and get your planning application reviewed again and potentially decline. So just be honest on this point. So are there any trees or hedges on the proposed development? That's probably going to be a yes, so put yes. Right, and then residential units, including conversion, so proposed housing, existing housing. This is going to be very simple if you're just doing one residential single property like I did. You just put in what it is. Then all the extra detail here is probably for developers who are looking at developing big, big projects. So just keep it simple there. This video is being created for people like myself who are thinking about doing a self-build residential project. So hopefully that'll be pretty easy. There you go, self-build and custom homes. Okay, now the next section here is about non-residential floor space within your property. So again, if this is just a self-build residential project, this should be easy for you. Just answer no to this, that there's no gain, loss, or change of use of non-residential floor space, because this is an existing house and it's going to be a house. It might just be a little bit bigger or smaller, but that's irrelevant for this section. Number 18 here, just leave that blank. Number 19, employment. Please complete the following information regarding employees, existing employees, proposed employees. So I suppose this is where if you've got anyone helping you, advising you on the project, or potentially if you've got a builder. But it would also be very important, this section, for any commercial developer or builders or main contractors who are doing the works. Again, not too important for people like myself. So just put no, basically, is what I put there. Hours of opening. So here you're going to be stating what hours you expect to be working on your site. You can put reasonable hours on there, which would be 8 till 5 or 8 till 6, Monday to Friday, and then maybe the morning on a Saturday or a whole Saturday and the morning on a Sunday. I definitely wouldn't put a Sunday afternoon in there, but obviously you don't have to, this isn't gospel. Speak to your neighbours when you start the work, and if they're happy for you to work weekends, or if you've got a good relationship with them and they've got something going on, they ask you not to work on a certain day, it's about give and take with your neighbours really. So just fill in there something standard. Google it if you don't know, put something standard in there, but then always liaise with your neighbours when it actually comes to it. Site area in acres, so whatever size your property is, including the grounds. Industrial or commercial purposes and machinery, so this is going to be obviously for large projects. Yeah, depending on what you're doing with your property, this might be relevant for you. So you just got to go through it and check it. But for me, I didn't have too much. I didn't have anything in here, I don't think. Nope. Hazardous substances. Okay, so here we're talking about asbestos and anything like that. Asbestos is going to be there somewhere. I don't see it. But if you've got any of those that you're aware of, obviously just let them know. Again, don't lie about this. Just be honest. And yeah, just put down whatever you have there. And if you don't know, I'm not sure. Just try and find out, you want to be open book here as much as possible. Ownership certificates and architectural land declaration. So here you just need to sign the declaration and sign the document. And then planning application requirements. So this is a checklist. Here you go. This is where it's going to tell you what exactly the minimum that they want. Again, sign it here, put your details in there. And then the last thing is site visit. So can the site be seen from a public road, footpath, Mine could, so I put yes. If the planning authority needs to make an appointment to carry out a visit, who should they contact? Obviously, you've got no agent, you're doing this yourself, so just put your details in there. They did contact me actually. I was away at the time, I wasn't in the country, but it was super easy. They contacted me, they went and did a site visit, they had a look around, and they called me when they were there so I could actually discuss it with them, even though I wasn't there in person, which was pretty good. Okay, so that's it for the online form. I hope that that doesn't seem too scary or too out of your depth. It really isn't, and if there's anything that you're not too sure about, drop a comment down below and I'll let you know if I can help. But the trickiest part really of applying for your own planning permission is going to be to produce the drawings. Anyone can do an online form and fill that in with a little bit of research potentially, but doing your own drawings does require a little bit of skill. So I used AutoCAD, which is an amazing application that you can use on your computer to come up with drawings. However, you can hand draw your drawings as well. The only issue with that, I would say, is that if you want to make changes, it can be a bit tough, and having professional PDF drawings looks better when you submit them for approval. Now back to AutoCAD then. This is a program that I'm aware of, but I'd never used it before properly anyway. I used a true view viewer basically, so that any drawings that architects or structural engineers had done using AutoCAD, I could view them, but I had no idea how to even draw a line before I started my planning application. So it did take a bit of I had to watch quite a few YouTube tutorials. AutoCAD also have their own tutorials. So if this is the route that you want to go down, spend a bit of time learning how to do it, but believe me, it's going to be well worth it, because instead of spending thousands paying an architect to do something super simple at this stage, it's something that you can learn and do yourself, and it's something that you can use, you know, in the future as well, because it's an amazing, amazing program. Yeah, the problem though is that it's insanely expensive. AutoCAD is like £1,600 per year, which is just crazy. However, I'm sure almost everyone should know someone who's a student, friend, family, distant relative, I don't know, but just ask around, because if you know someone who's a student, they can sign up to it completely for free. So you get 1 year for free. That's what I did. My sister's a student, so I used her student login details and I got it for free for a year. Saved me £1,600, which would have been an insane amount of money. If I did have to pay the $1,600, I still would have gone ahead and done my planning application myself, but I would have drawn it by hand. I'm not going to do a drawing tutorial in this video, because I'm sure there are far better videos on YouTube that you can go and watch, like I did when I had to learn how to use this. If I was to do it, it might not be quite as good. Who knows though? Maybe it would be better, because you would see it from like an actual beginner's point of view. So if that's something you want me to do, let me know down in the comments, and if enough people want me to do that, I can definitely have a go at doing a tutorial and showing you guys how to start from scratch and draw your own plans on AutoCAD. But for now, that's not going to be included in this video. So let's move on. Okay, so let me show you guys, and I'll pull it up on the screen here, all of my plans and what I submitted as part of my application. So first up is the block site plan here. As you can see, this is super basic, super outline. It's obviously not been done by a professional architect, so the planning officers know that, but it's good enough. So basically what I've got here is in the red, that's the extension, that's the new part of the property. So you can see the 2-story extension at the back and the enlargement of the front porch. This is the semi-detached neighbor. I just put that there for some sort of scale and to show the size compared to them. Then obviously, as I mentioned earlier, I've got the trees. So I've got 3 out the front here, that's a bush I think, another tree there, and 2 out the back with a big bush as well. So that's basically all the information you need to provide on a site plan. Next up then, a design and access statement. Again, this is something that you can download a template for. Features of the existing site. Okay, so it's not a massive amount of information I've put in here. Again, as I said, this is really quite simple. They're not looking to read pages and pages of shite, you know, they're just looking for something nice and simple. So keep it to the point. You do need to put some detail in there, you know, like no cavity wall insulation or roof insulation. So if this is not something that you can pick up on by yourself, your surveyor should have done that for you when you bought the property. So just put all the information in there that you've basically got. And then access. The existing and only access to my property was off the main road, so that was easy, just put that in there. Existing front and side doors to the property will remain with addition of a door at the back, so there you go. And lastly, the appearance of the proposed development. So the existing brick facade to be retained, because I was going to keep it the same, and repaired when necessary. New 3-meter rear extension, you know, that's it basically. It's super simple. What else have I got there? New windows to match existing style. Yep, so the front windows to be made slightly larger. So I'm changing some, but I'm telling the planning officer officer, that I'm keeping it all pretty much the same as the existing, which is what they love to hear. So if you're not bothered about that, what I would say is keep it the same because you've got more chance of getting it approved. Okay, next up then. Okay, these are my plans here. So these are the existing plans. That's what the property looked like. Again, super basic, super outline, no dimensions or anything on there. I have got a scale down here so they can print it off and scale it if they need to, but to be honest with you, they're probably not going to be bothered doing that. And then we've got obviously the most interesting part of this is the proposed plan. So this is what I wanted to do to my property and what got approved. But what I've done is put an extension here on the first floor. And on the ground floor, the extension is a bit larger because it's the whole bottom level, including this bit here. So again, super basic. You know, I have put some furniture, only a sofa and a kitchen island, a toilet. I put the staircase, you know, but you don't need to be showing that much detail even, really. It's just the outline and what you want to do. The thing they're more interested in are the elevations over here. In any important information, such as that it's 7 meters from an existing boundary, because that is important, you know, you can put that in there. You can put as much information as you want, but my advice would be to keep it simple so that it's easier for them to digest and make a decision on. So yeah, they're the drawings. As I said, super basic. I did put some detail into these doors here just because at the time I felt like it, not because I needed to. So yeah, you could have just put a really basic outline like these ones for that. As you can see, there's a bit of a mismatch there, but it's not vital, it's not hugely important. I've shown tiled roof there, and I've shown brickwork on the external walls here. Again, not detail that you really need to include because that's all on the paperwork and on the form that you submit online. All right then, so that's pretty much it in terms of what you need to submit in terms of paperwork. We've talked about the online application and we've talked about the drawings. Okay, now once you've got all of your drawings together, you've done your online application, you've put it all in, you've paid for it, let's talk about lead times, or at least timescales on getting your application approved. So I think the standard is 8 to 10 weeks. Mine took 10 weeks and I got my approval. There was one site visit within that 10 weeks, as I mentioned previously, but that didn't delay it past the 10-week mark. So they got mine back on time. But I have heard of horror stories, even nowadays, where people are saying that the application is taking months. I'm talking like 10 months. And after 10 months, they're still getting requests from the planning officer to, you know, extend it and have more time to review it because these guys are just swamped. So if you're lucky, you'll get it approved within 8 to 10 weeks. If you're not lucky, I wouldn't like to say. The next stage I'll quickly touch on would be to get building control involved. So once you've got your planning application back and it's approved, the next thing you need to do straight away is get building control involved in the project before you start work. They'll need a couple of days or weeks where they need to sort of give notice to the council, unless you go direct to the council and get an officer there. But yeah, they'll need some notice. You need to tell them before you start, and then they can start making visits as you go. So I'm not going to talk too much about that in this video, but I did want to mention it because it's a very important step, especially if you're going ahead with a self-built project. Right, so that's it for today's video. I really hope that you've enjoyed it. I hope that I was thorough and I didn't skip through too much, but if I did and you've got any questions, let me know down in the comments. I promise I'll get back to you. I'll answer as many of them as I can. Yeah, and I'm going to be making more videos on house building and self-build tips in the future. I've got a lot going on, so I'm going to be filming as much as I can and sharing things with you. Hopefully things that you can relate to or that will help you within your own self-build journey. But yeah, other than that, thanks for tuning in today, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.